Better late than ever, boys, but we are back again with the player podium. I'm your host, Alfie. This is for game week 3, the Premier League season, and I'll give you a recap of the rules for the player podium. As you can see here, up to 3 players per team are awarded points based on the individual performances across the game week. If your team's played badly, you won't get 3 points. Best player receives 3, second receives 2, third receives 1. See, if a team has less than 3 outstanding players, best performing player receives less than 3 points. There you go. Players accumulate points across the game weeks, and at the end of the season, this will give us an idea of who's performed best out of the players in each team, and one player is awarded Player of the Week every single week. This is the lay of the land after 2 game weeks in the Premier League. At the top, you can see Semenyo, Ekitike, Cunha and Richarlison are the outstanding players already, with Calafiori, Caicedo, Iwobi and Johnson not far behind. And our first 2 game week Player of the Week winners, as you can see, Reinders for game week 1 and Timber for game week 2. Starting off with the Friday kickoff from last week, it's Chelsea 2, Fulham 0. I didn't think Chelsea were, in the first half especially, I didn't think they were that overly dominant. I think Fulham, especially up until the disallowed goal, really had their foot on Chelsea's throats for quite a while. Josh King, with his disallowed goal, obviously VAR had a big part to play in that, and I don't think it was a foul. I don't think many people think it was a foul. Caicedo throws himself in, and he gets, he puts himself in the way to be stood on, so I don't really think you can give that as a foul, but VAR's VAR, so no one knows, but they're never consistent anyway. But it's promising signs for Fulham, I think. I think they played quite well until Chelsea scored, and then they didn't really have too much going for them after that. And Chelsea again, another 3 points. Still think unbeaten. They have dropped points, but still haven't lost a game yet, which is very positive signs for them. And the 1 point I'm going to give to Caicedo, another general of a performance. He's just a different gravy of player. He's so good holding in that midfield role. I thought Enzo Fernandez was, outside of his goals and assists, actually quite poor. And I think again Caicedo had to hold his hand quite a little bit, but he did that a very good job of doing that, and he's got 1 point for me in that game. 2 points I'm going to give to Chalobah. Outside of his rash-ish challenge that led to Fulham's disallowed goal, I think he was really solid at the back for Chelsea. I think the Chelsea defenders had to put on a bit of a show, and I think Caicedo. I think Chalobah was the best of the lot for me personally. And it shouldn't be any surprise, at the top I've gone with João Pedro with 3 points. I mean, he's just been Chelsea's outstanding player so far this season. When Palmer gets back from his injury, I'll be interested to see how they link up. It looked very good in the Club World Cup, but obviously Palmer's been out for a while. But even without Palmer's creative brilliance, Pedro's doing it all. He's creatively great. He's really good in the box. Took his goal really well. I think he had an involvement in the penalty as well. What he did with his little handball, but I was also thinking about giving Estevao a point. I think Estevao is really like a little live wire. Off the ball, he's not the best, but when he gets on the ball, he's really quick, really agile, and he caused Fulham a couple of problems. But I think off the ball, he just need a little bit of work. I think that will come with time, though. He is only 18, it's my age, but he's doing a lot better than I would be in that Chelsea team at the moment. But like last game week, I'm giving Leno 1 point for Fulham. He made a few key saves from what I do remember. He's a very solid keeper, and he's probably one of Fulham's older, more experienced, captain material type players. And it does show. I mean, when you've got a player like Leno behind you, I think as a defence you can feel a lot more assured that you're unlikely to concede the goals. And the goals that were conceded, he couldn't do anything about. The header was really well placed and quite close, and the penalty's a penalty. You can't expect the keeper to save a penalty. But outside of those 2 goals, I think Leno was really good in goal, and I think he's got the point for me. The 2 points for Fulham are going to go to Ryan Sessegnon. Until the penalty, which was a handball, I don't think you can really get around that. He was really decent going forward, I thought. Chelsea didn't have a lot on the right side. Estevao couldn't get on the ball too much. When he did, he looked dangerous, but he was, I think, man-marked quite well off the pitch by Ryan Sessegnon at times. And the handball's unlucky. It is a handball. You can't really argue against it, but I don't think he probably intentionally did it as a bit more of a reaction kind of thing. But again, going forward, I thought he was quite good bursting forward on the left flank, and he brought that kind of Anthony Robinson type movement that I think Robinson's been out for a while now, but Sessegnon's filled it in really well, and he's got 2 points in that game for me. And with 3 points is Josh King. It was really unlucky not to get that goal. It was so well taken. Movement was great. He cut in really nicely. But even outside of that, I think he played so well in the game anyway. He was Fulham's kind of like creative outlet. Iwobi wasn't performing very well, and Smith Rowe didn't do a lot when he came off the bench. I think it was all on Josh King, and I think he did a really good job. I reckon Fulham have got a really decent player on their hands here. If they can harness him, give him a bit more game time, let him prove himself across the season, then I think they could have a little player on their hands. Moving on to United 3, Burnley 2. This is like they got the win, but Jesus Christ, they made it difficult for themselves. Burnley did have a few chances to see the game off as well, and you think it's not the most promising signs in the world if you're a United fan. The points are good though. You can't look around that fact. They got the 3 points. That is important, but again, the system, it just doesn't look promising. If I was a United fan a few years ago, if you were telling me, oh, I don't know, when Jose was in charge or Solskjaer was in charge, that you would be happy with a 97th minute winner to make it 3-2 against newly promoted Burnley, who've just signed Armando Broja, then I wouldn't be too happy. And the points are promising again, I'll say it, but they really need to they really need to change the system up. I think Amarim's just not going to do that, but to be scraping it against Burnley is a bit questionable for me. I mean, the game could have been put away a lot earlier if this man scored his chance. I've given Ahmad 1 point, and even though he missed a pretty clear-cut chance on goal, he still played really well. He's really good on that right-hand side, as he tends to be. And the system makes him do the defensive work as well, which does expose some of his weaknesses. But, as a forward-thinking right wing-back, the Trent Frimpong type role that he plays, I think he does it really, really decently, or to the best that he can, especially going forward. And I think he was very creatively positive for United in that game. 2 points have gone to Mbeumo, really nicely taken goal, and he was, he showed why United paid all the money that they paid for him. He was really good going forward, and he got himself in quite a few dangerous places, played a few nice passes, and got onto the end of some nice balls as well. But yeah, he really did shine and play well in that game, I thought, for United. And the 3 points for Bruno. I mean, in that deeper role, he just being able to facilitate the forward-thinking players really works for him. It's not his preferred role. Obviously, he likes playing in the 10, and he's best in the 10. But there's a really decent side to him when he drops deeper, because he's got at times he's got the grit and the hassle, the fight to play in a midfield 8 role, but then he's still got the creativity and the spark to play the passes that he was playing and link between the defence and the attack really well, like he did. His penalty redeemed himself after the Fulham one, and he got the points for United in the end, and if he wasn't playing on the pitch, I think it would be a completely different story. Given Lyle Foster a point for Burnley, his goal was really nice, and in general I think Burnley were a lot improved from what I've seen. I don't think they're against the strongest opposition, in fairness. They've spent a lot of money, United have, but again, the system, and Burnley, where they, to the best of their ability, I think did exploit that. And I think Lyle Foster, his goal was a very key highlight of United's weakness, but very well done by Foster to get in behind the defence and took his goal away really nicely. Again, I'll give him Dubravka points for Burnley. I think he's been a really solid addition so far. I'm sure Newcastle released him. I think that is the case, and to pick him up on a free is really, really tidy bit of business. They lost Trafford, they got a bit of a decent paycheck in for Trafford, and they've replaced him with a short-term, yes, but very competent stopgap in Dubravka, and I think he's been a key reason why Burnley haven't been humiliated in some of the games that they've played, and he did his best to not concede the Cullen goal. He's so unlucky, he just bounced off, and he nearly clawed it out, he nearly prevented the own goal, but what can you really do? And he played again. I think he was really solid in goal, and he played well. The other goals, I don't think he could have done anything about really, but he made the saves outside of that. So 2 points for Dubravka. And with 3 points, I'm going Jacob Bruun-Larsen. This is an old career mode favourite of mine. I used to love signing Bruun-Larsen, so I really like seeing that kind of player succeed. And he was really, really creatively decent for Burnley. They re-signed him, and a few people raised eyebrows when they loaned him in. I think the last time they were in the Prem, and he he was all right, but he wasn't game changing necessarily, and they did go down obviously. But I mean, I think today, well, not it wasn't today, it was last week, but I think he proved, that he's a decent Prem standard player, and he put just a lovely ball in for Foster's goal. I think it was just pinpoint exactly where it needed to be. Benefited from the confusion between De Ligt and Dalot, but even so, you got to be in the position to get the chance, and the ball was amazing either way. Burnley haven't been as hopeless as I thought they would be this season, in fairness to them. I mean, they've put up a fight in these kind of games. They've got a win on the board against Sunderland. I thought they were going to lose that game. They're doing better than Villa at the moment. But yeah, it's a decent start to the season from Burnley. When they get a run of decent fixtures, I think we'll really see how hard they'll be able to fight for survival this year. But I think it's promising signs nonetheless. Sunderland 2, Brentford 1 now. This was, again, a really decent result. There's great limbs for Sunderland, and it was such a great moment to be there. It must have been a 96-minute winner in your second game back in the Premier. Roof must have come off that stadium. But again, Brentford, this is the team that Villa lost to, by the way. It's not great. That's the kind of point that you want to hold out for, because if they are going to be towards the bottom this year, then they're going to have to take points against rivals that you're going to be fighting against, and to throw it away late is, you don't want to see that if you're a Brentford fan. But a good win for Sunderland. It keeps a good momentum going for them after, I think it was a bit of a crash back down to earth the week before, so it's good for them to get back on the point sheet and progress further and further away from the relegation zone. Got Isidore with the first point, just for the impact off the bench. It was a great week for, I think he gave birth, well, he didn't give birth, but I think he had his daughter or something in the same week as well. And then to go and score the 96th after that, it must have been great. He was there last year, I'm fairly sure, when they got promoted, so he knows the club, and the fans seem to really, really like him. So fair play to Wilson. It was a really nice goal as well to get them the win in the end. I'm going to go with Roast, the keeper. I think that's how he say his name, but either way, he's got the 2 points. The penalty save was, is really, really well done. He read where Sharda was going, and throughout the game, I think he was pretty commanding, pretty dominant, which is exactly what you want from your keeper. It's a shame for Patterson it would have been to be replaced, but Roof's putting a good performance, so you can't really say it hasn't been justified so far. And with 3 points, I'm going to go for Enzo Lefebvre. Great last season in the Championship. I don't watch much Championship football, but even I saw bits and bobs of him, and he's just the absolute general for Sunderland. And he was the general again. I think this is his first start in the Prem, and he proved that he's a Premier League player. He just absolutely ran the show for Sunderland. His pen was really nicely taken. And he's off the ball movement as well, which is something that I saw. He's really, really good. He just drops in deep, does the defensive work, does the dirty work, and then facilitates going forward as well. He's a really, really decent little player, Lefebvre is. Looking at Brentford, I'm giving Onyeka the 1 point, pretty only simply because of his assist. It was a really good ball to Thiago, and really well taken header in the end, but the pass, you can't really understate that. He came off the bench, and I think Andrews would have been happy with the impact that Onyeka had. I'm going to give Collins a 2 points. I think defensively he's really solid, and he's been Brentford's he's the one of the mainstays from the last year's team that I think if they lost him as well, they would be down and out without a fuss. But he's been in a team that have struggled at times defensively. He's been a bit of a shining light for them, and hope that maybe they've got the grit to stick it out and stay in the Prem next year. But he's got 2 points from that game, even though they did concede 2 goals. I think he did. None of them were his fault, and he marshalled the back four pretty well. And 3 points, goal scorer Igor Thiago. His goal was really nice, headed into the ground. And this is it's his season late, but this is the Tony replacement that they signed originally. He's come back from his injury, and he's started pretty well this season. He's put the goals away. He scored, I think, in the first game week, and I think he might have scored in the cup as well. I'm not sure, but yeah, he started pretty decently this season. And if he can continue, he might be the one that Brentford look to try and drag them out the relegation zone and give them the points to try and stay in the Prem this year. Moving on to Spurs, and I don't think they had any outstanding performers really at all in that game. It was really, really poor Spurs performance. This is the kind of result that you thought you'd lost when you sacked Postecoglou. Obviously, Bournemouth are a really good team, there's no denying that, but at home you'd at least want points. Like, this is a really good win for Bournemouth, and it's a poor loss for Spurs. If I was a Spurs fan, I'd be expecting at least a draw out of that game, and to come away without anything, and to really not look the better team, to look second best quite comfortably. I would not be happy with that at all. Giving Vicario the points, I think it could have been a few more without him. He made some pretty important saves. I think he gave the ball away once, but mistakes like that happen. It didn't lead to a goal or anything, so I think you get away with it. But yeah, no one really caught the eye for me. I thought, obviously, I didn't watch the full 90. I think I caught the first half and bits of the second, but again, no one really stood. No one gave Spurs no one looked as if they could go and win Spurs a game, and they made the signings of. They signed Simmons, they signed Kolo Muani. I think they must have looked at that game and thought, yeah, I'm not too sure. I think we need to bolster our attacking options still after that game. And, you can't really blame them for doing that. Again, in the points for me is Semenyo. He's consistently been Bournemouth's best player to start the season. I was thinking of giving Brooks the point. I think him and Semenyo could have been interchangeable, but again, I think Semenyo's impact is just undeniable. I think he is by far and away Bournemouth's best player, and I'm pretty surprised he didn't get a move away this summer, to be honest. And 2 points I'm giving to Evan Nilsson. His goal was obviously fortunate, there's no getting around that. But going forward, his movement off the ball especially just makes it so difficult for Spurs, and it brings in the wide players quite a lot as well. So in a game where Spurs aren't dominating the ball and aren't getting forward enough as they need to be, I think having someone like Evan Nilsson just to cause them so many problems, I think that's just invaluable for Bournemouth, really. And in 3 points for me is Marco Senesi. The pass that he played to Evan Nilsson was just lovely. Such a great ball, and kept a clean sheet. General at the back four. I think he's the main centre half that's there from last season, and he's really stepping up so far in the absence of Zabani and Huijsen. So deservedly 3 points for him, and Bournemouth are continuing their really good start to the season. I thought. Everyone thought that they'd fall off when they lost all the big players in the back, but they seem to have replaced them quite well, and the people there from last season stepping up fairly well, so fair play to Bournemouth. On to the Wolves-Everton game now. This is the kind of exciting football you can expect from Everton this year, I think. It's surprising to see a David Moyes team playing with such fluidity and freedom, but this is what happens when you sign big players like Grealish, like Dewsbury Hall, players of that calibre that can come in and instantly elevate the team to play with excitement and a bit of flair to your game. And Dewsbury Hall isn't necessarily the most skilly player of all time, but he unlocks other players like Grealish and Ndiaye. He can do the gritty midfield work, and then he can play well going forward as well. So when you've got players like that in the team, you can expect these high scoring games, and Grealish is just facilitating at the moment. Beto is a problem up front, and they've got a lot of depth there as now. They've signed Dibbling, Tierno Barry, I think his name anyway. So I'd be really excited if I was an Everton fan. And Wolves, they put goals on the board, which is positive. You can't deny that. But again, leaky at the back, and if you're going away to Everton and scoring 2 goals, you would usually hope that wins you the game. But if you're getting outscored by when you're scoring 2 goals, it's not very hopeful. I've given Hwang the point. His goal was really well taken, and for someone that isn't going to be starting a lot because of Strand Larsen, and who has kind of fallen back into the bench kind of role that he played a lot for Wolves, to start and score is pretty big for him, and I think that's the kind of performance that he will be very happy with, getting his goal in the striker type position that you needed to have been in. And that's the kind of thing that will give Vitor Pereira a decision to make going forward. Will he keep up with Strand Larsen, or Strand Larsen's not playing well? You've got someone there who's quite, he's still competent. He's not too below the level of Strand Larsen. Someone to swap him in and do a job for you. Giving Rodrigo Gomez 2 points, and his goal was really nice. It made Everton worry, and he had a chance late on to equalise the game up. He didn't take it, but he was in a dangerous position. He got the ball, deservedly so, and maybe a striker scores that goal. It wasn't an easy chance by any stretch of the imagination, but he did fairly well anyway. Obviously it didn't go in, but he gave it a go, that's fine. But I think he really had a decent impact for Wolves in that game. I was also thinking of sliding Lopez in off the bench, because I think Lopez gave Everton a few problems to worry about, and I really like that signing, actually. I think he's quite exciting, and I think going forward Lopez will be quite good, but I think Gomez deserves the points for me in that game. And I'll give him Manetzi the 3 points. Again, Wolves' best player. Again, Wolves' kind of only real, like, definitively good, like, really good, performing player. He's been that guy, I think, for Wolves starting the season, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't stay there too long, because he's doing the best out of a bad bunch, and he's shown himself to be a pretty decent player, and Wolves' only consistent attacking outlet. So I think there's a player there to hang your hat on if you're a Wolves fan. One point I give him to Beto. I wasn't sure if I wanted to give him the 2 or the 1. I was switching up between him and who I've got in second, but I think his goal, obviously, it's just a Beto goal. Like, it's really good stuff, and his impact on the second goal as well, you can't ignore. His movement was great. The really nice little dummy for Ndiaye at the back, and I thought Barry would come straight in, because Beto obviously is inconsistent, but he's scored again. He's had a really good performance, and Beto's the kind of striker that a team like Everton would love to have against a team like Wolves. This is the kind of game that Beto can really get his hands on, and it will be the same against the teams further down, or the teams that aren't defensively physical enough to deal with him. Because if you've got players like Grealish that are going to make the chances out wide and put the balls in, they've got a massive outlet there to look for, who can just tower over basically anyone. So Beto as an option brings a little bit of diversity to that quite silky looking Everton team, and I think that kind of antichrist to the fluidity, I think that worked well in that game. I think it will work quite a lot going forward this season. Dewsbury Hall's got the 2 points. His goal was lovely. That volley, half volley, I think was just amazing. Really well taken, and I think he got an assist as well. I think it was to Ndiaye. A really good ball back into the box. His movement was great. The pass was obviously good from Grealish, but the movement to get around him, get into that space when no one was marking, was just great from Dewsbury Hall. And this is really a system in which I think he's going to thrive, and honestly could maybe be an outside call-up if Everton, especially if Everton keep playing like this. Obviously, he's not the fanciest name in the world, but if he keeps playing like this, I don't think Tuchel can ignore the performances like that. And ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Game Week 3's Player of the Week, Jack Grealish. Just an unbelievable performance, completely and utterly ran the show for Everton. 2 lovely assists, a great pre-assist for Ndiaye's goal, and just all around was that guy. It breaks my heart to see him playing so well in a midfield team that isn't Villa, but I'm so happy for the lad to finally be able to play like he wants to play like some playground football, just to get the ball and just do what he wants with it instead of passing to the left back all the time. It just suits him so well, and Pep Guardiola's done some serious war crimes on Jack Grealish. I think he's got 1 or 2 apologies he needs to make, but honestly, very, very deserved Player of the Week for Game Week 3. What a player. I'm not going to spend too much time on this game because it was boring. Newcastle, again, not the most creative. It's interesting to see, but they just didn't, they couldn't make as many chances as they would have liked to. And against a team like Leeds, I know going to Ellen Road is a pretty difficult fixture, but you would expect Newcastle to beat Leeds, and the fact that they haven't is quite surprising at this point. But anyway, for Leeds, it is a really, really good result, because the more points they can take off these higher end teams, the better it will be for their season. A lot of people are writing them off after the window of Sunderland and the performances of teams like West Ham, even outside of their losses. West Ham went and won, 3-1 last weekend. So the more points that Leeds can take, the better, because it's not going to be an easy fight for relegation. I think Joe Rodon in the 1 point position, I think he was very solid at the back for Leeds. He was good last season as well. Again, didn't catch too much Championship football, but he was really solid for Leeds last season. And I think he's going to be one of the names that is going to keep the goals out of Leeds, keep the ball out of Leeds' goal as much as he can, and could be a massive factor in them staying up potentially. 2 points are given to Jayden Bogle, and a very nice picture that I've chosen for him. I think it really highlights his features quite well. But now, in all seriousness, I think he was going forward. I think he was pretty decent off the right flank. I thought he kind of pocketed the winger on the left, and in general, I think it was a really decent performance from him. They've signed that James Justin from Leeds, which, you know, 10 million quid is nothing to. It's not anything outstanding by any stretch of imagination, but it'll give Bogle some competition. But, you know, I think Justin might have to hold a bit of bench time for a while if Bogle's going to keep on playing like he did. I've given Sean Longstaff the 3 points. He was solid in midfield, brought the grip, brought the experience that Leeds need. And this is a guy that's played Champions League football, by the way. He played against PSG, I'm fairly sure, and this is like against his old club as well. Boy, a Newcastle fan, but I think he really performed for Leeds. And this is the kind of experience signing that is actually really good for Leeds, and that kind of signing will help keep them in the Premier League. I've given Shah a point. I think Shah is just consistently really solid at the back for Newcastle, and I think he showed that again against Leeds when they had a few forays forward. He was the one that was shutting most of it down. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, did Newcastle do a 5-back, or have I got that wrong? It was a week ago, so I'm struggling to remember a little bit, but either way, he was really solid again for Newcastle, so it's a point for Shah. You'll be sick of seeing his face at this point on the presentations, but 2 points for Tonali. Again, the midfield general, again, outperforms Joe Linton and Guimaraes. And I think he is just Newcastle's most talented midfielder. I really like him in the middle of that park. The way he links the play is really good. Obviously, it didn't come to much against Leeds, but again, on a different day, maybe Newcastle score a few goals and Tonali still play well. The 3 points are given to Botman. Obviously, getting a knock wasn't great, but him and Shah always have worked really well together. It'll be interesting to see if Chiao can break up that little link-up, but yeah, not a game really for attacking play. Again, it's a bit disappointing from Newcastle's end. Obviously, keeping the goals out is good. That you can't deny that. But if you're not scoring at the other end, it's not really like ideal, because you don't really want to be able. You don't want to do one without compromising the other. You want to be able to have both working nicely. So, especially against teams like Leeds, Newcastle don't want to be dropping these kind of points early on in the season. Very surprising result. I did not see this coming at all. Brighton 2, City 1. I thought City were going to beat Brighton. It's really been a week for the home teams. Well, it will be until we get on to the last game of the video. But yeah, Brighton, really good performance from them. This is the kind of win that will help propel them towards European football. This is because teams around them, like Bournemouth, won't necessarily beat City, you know. And it's really, really positive signs for Brighton. City, again, how many times can we pull back to that performance against Wolves, the dominant performance, especially when we've seen how Wolves have gone this season. I mean, it's not amazing. They've lost now to Spurs and Brighton back to back, and that Wolves game is looking like quite a long time ago now. So, you know, if I was a City fan, maybe I thought, you know, they were going to be right up there. Maybe that's not going to be the case this year. 1 point I've given to Hinchelwood. I thought Hinchelwood was really good in the bottom of that midfield. He was just holding back, anchoring the back line really well, and he does play that role quite. I think he's quite a versatile player. He's played in the back line himself and on the right hand side, I think, a few times as well. But in the midfield, I think he did really well against City today, and I think he deserved the point. Not today, obviously, but you know. Giving Gruder the 2 points, the impact off the bench, you can't deny it. Gruder is a really good player. I don't think we've not seen the best out of him at Brighton, because there's been other options that have started ahead of him. But I think, I'd hope so anyway, but I hope this performance can really give Herzler the thought of, okay, I might want to give Gruder a bit more game time, maybe if it is off one of the flanks or down the middle. And I'll give him Matoma the 3 points. I think he's usually Brighton's standout player. I think he was definitely in that game as well. I think he's getting on he's not getting on a bit. He's in his prime now, so if they don't sell him soon, I think he'll probably end up staying at Brighton for quite a long time. But I think he is, you know, he could cement himself as a bit of a legend at Brighton, because he's just a really, really good player. I really do like Matoma, and it started getting dropped quite a bit. I think, was it last season maybe? Which I was quite surprised about, but I think he's really staking his claim to stay in the team permanently now, going forward. Giving 1 point to Haaland, he scored his goal. That's all you really need to say. Trafford, I've given 2 points. He made quite a lot of saves in that game, and quite a lot of important saves, really. I think it could have been a few more if he wasn't in goal, and I think he would be a bit disappointed to see that they have signed Donnarumma, especially as he is a keeper that doesn't notoriously fit Pep's system. But again, if he keeps playing like that, if he keeps performing on the Champions League games or Cup games, I think it'll give Pep a decision to make. And I've got Marmoush with the 3 points. He's just dynamic up front. He offers like the contrary to Haaland, and I think it works well having them both there. He is the one that's doing all of the skillful, creative stuff, but has the ability to score the goals as well. And I do really like that signing. Obviously, they spent a lot of money on him, but I think it's been worth it so far for City. On to Forest West Ham game. This was a really surprising result, especially away from home. For West Ham to pick up 3 points here in such a fashion was pretty impressive. I'd written them off. I can't lie, I'd written Potter completely off. I thought he was going to last maybe 3 or 4 more weeks before getting the boot. But this is a very impressive performance. And, you know, if the rumours are true, if Marinakis doesn't like Nuno, then he might be in some trouble, which is mental to say, given what happened last season. But he's not a normal individual, and Forest looked very flat and very poor in that game, I thought. I've given Elliot Anderson a point for Forest, but it wasn't his best game, but I think he was probably the best out of the lot there for Forest. I think he does deserve a point for that, but even so, it wasn't his most impressive performance. I think he'll probably tell you that himself, to be fair, but really, again, not great for Forest. They strengthened really well. I think they've had a really good transfer window, but it's not, I mean, you'd hope it's worth it in the end, but that's not the most hopeful sign in the world for them. New signing Mateus Fernandes gets the point for me. I think he was Southampton's probably shining light last year alongside Dibbling, and for him to get the move up, this is a really good bit of business for West Ham and should be pushing Ward-Prowse and like Rodriguez and all those kind of like average, mediocre midfielders out of the team now, because I think they've got a really decent little core going. The signings that they've made, like Fernandes, really, really good. And if they keep performing to the level that Fernandes has been performing, well, so far anyway in that game, then I think maybe we were wrong to write West Ham off. Paqueta gets the 2 points. I can't remember if he scored or not, but I do know he played very well in that game. I do remember him performing particularly well. And, he did actually. He scored the goal and did the kiss the badge thing, God's sake. But yeah, really good stuff from Paqueta again, and very important that West Ham have actually kept on to him, because he is their like shining creative outlet. And, you know, if you'd have gone to Villa, then people, including myself, would have thought maybe this is time for West Ham to go back down. And the 3 points goes to Jarrod Bowen. He's West Ham's best player. You know, it's pretty clear. Him and Paqueta are their star mavericks, and, you know, he scored and just looked head and shoulders like the best player on the pitch. I think he's just, I'm so surprised that he stayed at West Ham. If I was like Arsenal a few years ago, or, you know, someone of that calibre, or Spurs maybe, I'd have been all over him. But, you know, he's sticking it out at West Ham. Maybe Danny Dyer's in his ear saying, you know, you'll chin him if he goes or whatever. But yeah, really good stuff from Bowen, and really positive for West Ham. It's like the first time you can really look at West Ham and say, you know what, they look like a decent outfit going forward this year. That's a Liverpool-Arsenal game. I watched this game in the concourse at Villa Park, and I probably should have stayed at home and watched it, because I wish I didn't go to that shit game. But either way, it wasn't that exciting from what I could see. Neither team, they looked balanced, don't get me wrong. Both teams looked equally strong, but neither team looked very exciting, I want to say. Neither team looked to be definitively better than the other. Neither team looked as if, you know, I could pick you over you as my Premier League champions going forward. But The positives for Arsenal, I guess, is that they were able to hold on at Anfield, which is the most difficult place to go in the league, until, Szoboszlai did his little bit of magic. So I guess it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Giving Van Dijk the point in defence, I think him and Konate were actually really solid in that game, which, is good for Konate because he was poor in the first two games this season. So to get a good performance in will do his confidence a world of good. But I think, it's a classic, really, Van Dijk performance. Shut Gyökeres out pretty much completely. And also didn't really look to have an attacking outlet outside of that until Eze came on. Gravenberch is getting the two, marshal the midfield. Liverpool look very unbalanced when he's not in the team. Him and McAllister are like a good duo, I guess. But I'd have Szoboszlai in the midfield, obviously. But he's been doing a shift at right back at the moment. But when it's McAllister and Szoboszlai in the midfield, it's just not balanced enough. And Gravenberch always drops in and offers that defensive assuredness, but also strength and power going forward when they need it as well, like he did in the Newcastle game. But yeah, it's really good Gravenberch performance, and that's 2 points for me. It wasn't going to be anyone else, was it? No one really stood out like Szoboszlai did, out of position, which is where, unfortunately for him, he's being played on, 70 odd million, and they're putting him right back, which is, Conor Bradley's on the bench, but, he seems to be working, I guess, because he played really well in that game, and that free kick, Jesus Christ. Seriously, what a goal that was. It was ridiculous. Nothing Raya could have done about it, and just a slice of magic, and he's got 3 points for me. I ain't giving Arsenal a player with 3 points. I don't think they were creatively exciting enough to warrant that, and the defence wasn't like it wasn't as overwhelmingly strong as they have been at times. They didn't completely keep Liverpool out of the game. Liverpool did have a few chances forward. Ekitike had like one or two. Didn't really convert. Obviously didn't convert any of them. But I'll give him Mosquera the point. He came in early from Saliba's injury, and I think he, in his first real test, in his first big performance, I think he was very solid for Arsenal. And again, more really good defensive cover that Arsenal have brought in this year. And 2 points I've gone Eze. He was the only exciting creative player for Arsenal. I don't know why Arteta didn't start him. Why he didn't start him is completely beyond me. But Eze looked really decent, and if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be really happy that you poached him from Spurs, because he came on and was very exciting. He was, especially compared to the rest of the Arsenal team as well. Actually, I'd forgotten about this game, I've always been more of a badminton fan myself, I can't lie. I don't know what is going wrong at the moment for us. A lot of people are blaming PSR. PSR doesn't play on the pitch, PSR doesn't pick 11 men to go out and perform. It's so weird, because we've literally, the starting 11 that I spoke about last week started, and it just didn't look. We don't look threatening at all. We look so flat. We look so drab. We've made signings, which is good. We made 2 attacking signings, which I'm actually very happy with. I really like Harvey Elliott and Sancho as signings. I think they're going to do well this season, but we really need them to do well, because it wasn't a good performance from us, and it was a classic Palace performance. Defensively resolute, let us have a lot of the ball, clinical, aggressive, precise on the counter-attack, and we just hate playing those kind of teams. I don't know why. I don't know why we can't do it, but for whatever reason we just can't. We struggle. Somehow I've managed to find 2 players that I thought played well out of that mess, and Buendia was the first one of them. He was our only attacking spark going forward, which is not good enough. Rodgers, again, awful. Marlon and Gesson equally didn't get a really look in, and Watkins, nothing. But I was really happy with Buendia when he came on, and I think Buendia was, I thought we were going to sell him and keep someone else, but I'm pretty happy with that performance, and I'd be looking to use him still off the bench if he's going to keep putting his shifts like that. And it might be a bit, controversial, but I saw other people that didn't like that performance from Maatsen, but I thought he was good. I think going forward, on the left side especially, I think in a game where Gesson struggled off the left, I think Maatsen did the best that he could, especially while we had the ascendancy, to try and help us get something going forward. And I prefer him off the left than Digne because of how dynamic he is. He's defensively weaker, that is undeniable. But when we have two slower defenders in the middle, I like having a pacier option on the left to cover them when necessary, which Maatsen is. And he played well. I did think he played well. Obviously, he got exploited down the left a few times, but I thought that those chances never really came to anything, and especially going forward in a game where we lacked the spark, I think he was one of the only players that actually delivered it, and he wasn't even an attacker, which is a bit embarrassing. I thought a very underrated performance from Chris Richards in that game. I didn't see a lot of people raving about him, but he was so difficult to break down. He won every header, pretty much. We couldn't get past him, and people will rave about Guehi, and Lacroix always gets plaudits as well. But I think Chris Richards will go under the radar, undeservedly so. I think he was really good in that game, and we just couldn't break him down at all. It's a really good performance from Henderson. We had a few shots and we couldn't get past them at all. There's one particular one that sticks out in mind. Yuri Tielemans down towards a hole. Really not. It was going top bins, and we all started to get a bit excited. But then Henderson got across and saved it. There's a really good one down to his right as well. I think that might have been from Rodgers. I'm not sure, but yeah, a really good performance from Henderson. And you know what can. In a game where we struggled creatively, any shot that we took really needed to go in if we were going to have any chance of winning that game, and Henderson did his job to prevent that from happening. I actually laughed when the goal went in because it's just so Villa to concede a goal like that. Well done, Guehi. It was a fantastic strike. But I saw it fly into top corner. I was just like, for fuck's sake, I knew what was going to happen. And he was just a general. He deserves to move to Liverpool based on that performance alone, but it's unlucky for him that it hasn't gone through. I guess he'll go on a free next year, or if Palace sign a year extension, he'll go next summer. But he is a Liverpool standard player, and he does deserve to be playing at the top of the Premier League for me. And this is the lay of the land after game week 3. You can see a lot of players starting to fall into this 1 point slot, and in the 2 as well. Up front, you got Pedro, Semenyo, and Grealish that have been actually 3 of the best players this season, and probably 3 of the outlines for Player of the Year. You got a few starting to fill up the 5 spot. You got Ekitike, Richarlison, Caicedo, deservedly there. Guehi as well, Marmoush and Bowen as well starting to fall in. So you can start to really notice the players that are playing well for their clubs. This is what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to work out, who's got the biggest impact on their squad. Not necessarily who is the best player in the Premier League, but who is the player that impacts the games the most for each team. But anyway, let me know how rubbish Villa are in the comments, and thank you very much, boys. See ya.